Well, in this video, I am going to discuss about the Terraform provisioners. What are the provisioners, why they are used, and why it is required. And first of all, we will go with the definition itself. Like the provisioners in the Terraform allow to execute the scripts and the commands on the local or the remote machine as part of a resource provisioning. What exactly is this thing and why it is required? The thing is that you are building a lot of resources like the EC2 machine, S3 bucket, EKS, ECR, CloudWatch, and the Lambda function. And there are hundreds of resources that are provided by the cloud providers. And you are creating those resources. But why you are creating? To deploy your application. You have built some application, whether it is a AI application or any sort of application. You have the front end, you have the back end, you have the databases, and you are providing the API. For these purpose, you want resources, and you are taking resources from those cloud providers. So when you are taking the resources out of the cloud providers, you want to deploy your application. That is your main intention. But you can able to, as of now, whatever we have discussed, there you can able to create the resources. You cannot deploy your application or do anything related to that. So these Terraform provisioners are specially used for that purpose. For example, you are deploying your Python application onto an EC2 machine, right? And there are some of the resources that need to be created. For example, you need to have pip installed in your system. You need to have Python installed in your system. And if you are using any of the packages that are supporting your application, that need to be installed in your system. So before deploying your application, you need to install these all things like Python, pip, and any other package that is supporting your application. Those needs to be installed into your EC2 machine so that your Python application can run smoothly. So to do these all things, we can use other things, like we can use the Terraform to build our whole of the infrastructure. And after that, we can use Shell or the Python or anything to install the required things onto that resource what we are creating. But it is very tedious task, because we are using a Terraform for the infrastructure, and we are using Shell or the Python and calling those resources, installing that. It is very tedious process. It is very uh, not handy. Therefore, Terraform came up with something called as a provisioners, where you can able to do these all things. You can able to create the resource, you can able to execute some of the scripts and the command onto the remote machine or onto the remote resource what you're creating in the cloud providers, or you can able to do those things in the local system while creating those resources. So this is how we go with the provisioners. So there are two types of provisioners. One is a local provisioner and another one is a remote provisioner. What is exactly a local provisioner? When there are a set of commands what you are executing, if those are executed onto the local machine, like for example, you are creating some resources, let's say take example of a EC2 or S3 bucket or anything. So you want some of the necessary things for of your machine, like EC2 machine you want public IP address, or for the S3 bucket you want the unique name, so that you can able to upload the necessary documents into the S3 bucket, or the EKS so that you can upload your containers, sorry, the clusters. And for the ECR you want the containers to be uploaded. So you want some necessary information while you are going with it. We have seen the output in the Terraform. Like whenever we get output, we used to see it. So we execute some command, like okay, whenever we use the output command, I want these outputs to be saved in a text file. So you are executing some command. This is local provision, like you are doing inside some code editor, where you are writing this. Okay, whenever there is some output that has to be generated, that has to be saved in the text file. Therefore use some cat command to transfer that output into one text file. So you can use the local provisioner. What is a remote provisioner? as I previously discussed, you are deploying your Python application and you need to run some of the command inside the EC2 machine so that it can support your Python application. In such condition, you can use the remote provisioner, saying that you need to install these are the set of the commands that you need to install in EC2 machine so that your application can run smoothly. And this is how we go with remote provisioners. This is the difference between a local provisioner and a remote provisioner. Normally, when we are taking off a local provisioner, um, task like a task like uploading the files to the remote resources before connecting them or handling the configuration, such things are done with the local provisioners, and in the remote provisioners we can directly install the required resource onto the machine what we are creating. So there are some of the built-in provisioners, like these are already there. Using these things you can able to do all the required resource, like you can mention it is a local execution, this is a remote execution, this is a file provisioner, and you can do so. So how we can go with these all things? See, the first and foremost thing is a file provisioners. File provisioner copies all the files from the local machine to the targeted resource. Like you are there are some configuration files, there are some scripts, and there are some data files. Those files information to be copied, and those has to be executed in the remote remote provisioner. You have some file, extract the information out of file, execute them in the remote version. For that you use a file provisioner. You just copy those all from the source, and you mention the destination of the remote machine, and over there what you do, you just say, okay, this is my remote machine, this is my source machine, copy these files from remote to like the local to remote, and execute over there. For such things we can use the file provisioners. And second one is let's take example of the remote exec, because it is one of the easiest one. So remote provisioners run some of the commands on the remote resources after it is provisioned. Like after you create some EC2 or S3 bucket, over there if you want to install install or upgrade, update, or delete some of the resources using the commands, so you can able to do using remote exec provisioners. You have to provide set of a commands saying that this is the provisioner and this has to be done in the remote exec. Just provide some inline code like sudo apt update or sudo apt install some nginx server, and this is the things what you can able to do in the remote. So after which we have the local exec. Normally these things run in the local machine where you are building these all the Terraform things. There it is executed the local exec. So before discussing about these all things, this is actually useful. The local exec is actually useful when you are communicating with the two of the resources. Like there is EC2 machine that is installed in the AWS, and from your local machine you are connecting to those, like you are extracting some of the IP addresses out of it, and you are extracting some of the necessary information of those EC2 machine. In such condition you can use the local exec. And these are the things, and I am going to discuss the practicals in upcoming session. So this is how we go with the provisioners. At last we have the use cases. We have system initialization, like I already said, like sudo apt update. I can able to do that, and I need to install sudo apt get install and the command. So system initialization we can able to do. Configuration management we can able to do. It is like configuration management is a main task of the Terraform. And deployment scripts, like I want to dockerize my whole of the application once it is deployed onto each machine. Okay, you can able to do that, and we can able to run, we can able to get the images, we can log into the container, execute some necessary commands, stop the container, start the container, pause the container. These are the things, these are termed as a deployment scripts, and we can able to do these all the things. And this is all about provisioners. Thank you.